This is Worldview on WBEZ. I'm Alexandra Solomon. The Polish Film Festival in America opens tomorrow in Chicago. The festival is now in its 28th year. It's one of the largest showcases of Polish cinema in the world. Film contributor Milos Stehlik is joining us now to talk about some of the films that will screen there. Hey, Milos.
Hey, Alexandra. Great to be here.
And also joining us is Christopher Kamyszew. He's the founder and director of the Polish Film Festival in America.
Good morning.
Hi there. So, Christopher, I was looking at the overall program. It's 16 feature films. There's documentaries. There's children's programming. It's a large festival. And I imagine 28 years, things have probably changed. Take us back to sort of that moment when you decided, actually, I'm going to bring a festival like this to Chicago. It was
it was just when the political system changed in Poland in 1989. And we realized that not too many Polish filmmakers, especially of a middle age, have been known, although Milos have great achievements in promoting Eastern European and Polish cinema before. And then we started bringing in filmmakers like Krzysztof Kieślowski, Felix Falk, Agnieszka Holland. And it became so large that at some point the festival had 38,000 viewers. It got longer and longer, 16, 17 days, 7 locations. So it became a huge event.
Well, I mean, the thing I think that's interesting about Polish cinema is that Poland, first of all, has a very, very long and very significant cinematic tradition. If you look at the achievements of Polish filmmakers, Polish cinematographers, Polish actors, Polish set designers in Polish animation, it's very varied and very rich. And it's really to the great detriment of America that it is not recognized and not appreciated for the diversity that it is, for the degree of talent that exists there, for the broad variety of films, and especially now. And this is the moment, in a way, when Polish cinema, after the fall of communism, is really catching its breath, I think in kind of a very forceful, original, and very dynamic way. So if this is a moment to discover something, it is a moment to discover Polish film.
Yes, that's true. Well, it's discovered when Polish filmmakers receive Oscars, and there were quite many of them in the recent years. Those working in Hollywood, which obviously have become a part of the festival, like Janusz Kaminski.
Spielberg's cinematographer.
Yeah, okay. Spielberg's cinematographer, who received 2 Oscars. Jan A.P. Kaczmarek, the composer, who in fact was our guest first before he even started his career here. Andrzej Wajda, the master of Polish cinema, who passed away 3 weeks ago. So I think it became more and more familiar to American audiences, but it's still a lot of things to be done, and I think that the festival is trying to fill this gap.
And why do you think, I mean, even Andrzej Wajda, who passed away recently, that's a name that I know in Poland and in Europe is very well known, but still in America there were a lot of people who probably were just learning about him for the first time through the obituary. Why is it that, that barrier is still here between the U.S. and Polish cinema, and that we don't get more of the films, and that we don't know more of the names here?
I mean, I think there are 2 reasons. One is that Western European companies and governments, have put a lot more money into film promotion. That's the first part. There's a kind of a natural inclination towards French films, for example, and Francophilism. And then the second reason is that Poland by itself, a country that's has an enormously varied and difficult history. Many of the filmmakers have dealt with that history. And so that takes a little bit of knowledge on the part of an American viewer to come to it, to see the film, and then to want to discover more. So there's a little bit of that, and that's in a sense off-putting.
Oh, that's absolutely perfect point. And I think in general, it's the problem of foreign film in the country.
You're listening to Worldview on WBEZ. I'm Alexandra Solomon, and I'm talking with Christopher Kamyszew. He's the founder and director of the Polish Film Festival in America. Film contributor Milos Stehlik is also here. That festival opens tomorrow here in Chicago and runs through November 20th. Well, there are some great films that are going to be showing at the festival, so we should jump right in. And opening night, which is tomorrow, we have a film...
Just today.
Tomorrow. Yes.
We've got a film about the life of Marie Curie, the scientist. Tell us a little bit about this film, Milos.
Well, what we know about Marie Curie and what I knew about Marie Curie from high school was, she discovered radium with her husband, then she got poisoned from radium, and then she died. And so that was kind of the end of it. And so I approached the film, I think that as most people who would hear the title would, which is historical biopicture, something very laudatory. Here is this great heroine. And instead of that, you get something which the film comes across as really a revelation, because you get something which is very personal, an insight into an 5-year episode of her life after her husband died, when she had an affair with her dead husband's peer's former student, and which led to her getting a second Nobel Prize, which I also really was not aware of. So it really becomes a portrait of a woman scientist dedicated to science, who really battles late 19th century, early 20th century, the scientific establishment to become a very complex and compelling figure.
And we have Mikolaj Pokromski here. He's the producer of the film Marie Curie, The Courage of Knowledge. Well, nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you. Nice to be here. Thank you.
And yeah, I think it's true. Like Milos had pretty cursory knowledge of, really, this woman. She gets held up as, there was a great woman scientist, Marie Curie. She won a prize. And that is kind of really about what we know. So it was really exciting to have that world open up a little. And, Milos mentioned that we get this pretty complex view of her. And I'm curious, kind of when you were making the film, how you determined how much was going to focus on sort of her scientific accomplishments versus her, the woman.
Right. So from the beginning on, we focused very much on her private life. That was from the beginning on the idea of the director, of authors of the film. And I think we can say the scientist's life was just a background, important background, because it determined also their private life. But definitely we want to show, and director of all, Marie Noël, wants to show her a human side, her private life, which was very complicated because of death of her husband, because of the relationship with the daughters, because of few loves affair which she had afterwards. So that was definitely our focus, to show Marie Curie as a woman in the first row and not as a scientist, because this part of history we all more or less know, but we don't know much about her private life.
And I think actually most people in this country would be pretty surprised to learn she's Polish, because I think a lot of people are under the impression she's French.
Right, although I have to say I was exchange student when I was 16, and I was in Floresville in Texas. And I have to say that I was very positively surprised, because you are learning here in American high school that she was Polish. And this is rare, because normally in Europe, in many countries, it's just very overviewing how you learn about her. It's not, you are not going deep in details. And in many even West European countries, they don't teach you that she was Polish, because it's not important. Here, I have to say, it was clearly in high school, it was clear statement that she was Polish, she was living in France, and even it was said that her full name was Maria Skłodowska-Curie, which is so important for Poles. So I think here in USA, the awareness is pretty good. I mean, it depends if the high school students keep it in their mind for the rest of their life, but you are learning it at school, so I think it's not so bad.
I mean, I think that's the other part that comes into this is that Marie Noël, who directed this film, is a very masterfully and originally made film. Very, very well crafted, beautiful cinematography, really impeccable set design, very good period picture without being weighed down by the decor of history in any sense, because it's it feels very intimate, even though there are lots of things going on. This is a woman who, in a way, breaks through this misogynistic establishment of science and the academy around her time. And the acting is really impeccable.
And the star of the film is she's a well-known actress in Poland?
Yes, she's well-known actress in Poland. I would say it's top 5 actress in Poland in this age category. But I hope after this film she will be recognized as Marie Curie. I mean, it's definitely in this film she carry most of the story. I mean, the whole cast is great, but here she was really on every shooting day on set, and she carried the film, whole story, and I think she did it great. You have to judge it yourself, but I hope you will have a chance. But in my opinion, she did it great.
And one of the things that you mentioned, that the film is really about her personal life and kind of what went into her choices. She did face this scandal, which I didn't really know anything about, because she had a love affair, which for a woman in that time was a pretty big deal. In terms of, and we rarely get to see, A, a film about a woman, then B, a film about a female scientist, and then something that sort of opens up kind of what drives her was, as a woman, really lovely to see. Can you talk a little bit about that process in terms of what were the drivers you were hoping to show in kind of what made her who she was?
I think, it's the life. I mean, her life, all the situations which she has to pass through, shape her, let's say. And for the story, of course, our main inspiration was original articles in that time Boulevard Press, called Louvre. And how do they describe this love affair and so on? And that was incredible, because nowadays Boulevard Press, it's really very sensitive with the celebrities, because at that time they were really hard what you could read about her. And I think that's and of course this fight against men. I mean, men in this meaning that she was working only between men. It was totally determined by men, this society world, and she has to emancipate, she has to fight with that. And this emancipation was, I think, the main thing which was burning inside her, and that was something which bring her so far.
And it was pretty amazing, because you can imagine that women in science today are probably still facing a lot of the same problems, because there are so few women still in science. I'm curious what drew you to this particular film and to her story. Why did you choose this film?
I knew the director for a very long time, although she's French living in Germany. We knew each other for a very long time, and this story she had already for a very long time in her mind, and we were speaking about it a long time ago, and that's how it developed. And of course, for me as a producer from Poland, it's extremely interesting and lucrative story, right? Because there is a huge expectation of this film, and I can add also that there were few Polish productions who should be done, but they did not succeed. And at the end of the day, we are the first film since 30 years about Marie Curie in Polish cinema. So this is huge hope for me as a producer, and also for the Polish distributor. And I think we have really good chances in Poland to make proper numbers.
And that film is showing tomorrow night. It's opening the Polish Film Festival. Milos and Christopher, we've just got about a minute here, a little less. So there are obviously several other films being shown. Give people a really quick little overview of what else.
I think there are a lot of films. I mean, a night dedicated to Andrzej Wajda, which is with his new film Afterimage, which is a very interesting film about a band painter in the 1950s. His classic film Land of Promise, which has not been seen for a very long time, in a new restored version. There's a very interesting film about another artist called Last Family with Andrzej Severin, who I think is coming, and he's in many, many films in this year's festival, including in Marie Curie. And it's about an artist, Zdzisław Beksinski, covering a period of over 20 years. An interesting film called United States of Love by Tomasz Wasilewski, set in 1990s, shortly after the fall. So there's a great deal of variety.
And Christopher, give people one more recommendation. You put the festival together of something else they shouldn't miss.
Well, I would definitely encourage you to see Andrzej Wajda's film, and particularly The Promised Land. This is a newly restored version. Consider the best Polish film ever made.
Okay, well, that is the Polish Film Festival in America. It's running through November 20th. We'll tweet out the link to the schedule so people can check it out. Milos Stehlik, the director of Facets Multimedia, Christopher Kamyszew, the founder and director of the Polish Film Festival, and Mikolaj Pokromski, the producer of Marie Curie, The Courage of Knowledge. Thank you all so much for joining me and telling us about what's out there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.